Hello everyone, Shinto Bean here, playing some more Battle for Middle-earth, and this is the Age of the Ring mod with an entire Lord of the Rings campaign which follows the events of the movies, but also has some additional stuff from the books as well. In this video I'll be playing the second mission in the campaign, which starts with Frodo and Sam leaving the Shire. So the mission starts off with an in-game cinematic, and this actually uses the original audio from the Fellowship of the Ring. So due to copyright reasons, I unfortunately can't include that audio, so we just have to watch it in silence. This is the scene where Gandalf is sending off Frodo and Sam, and advising Frodo never to put on the ring, before he heads off to who knows where. Next we cut to the scene where Sam loses Frodo in a cornfield before they run into Merry and Pippin, who have been stealing vegetables from Farmer Maggot's crop. Now of course this is different from how it was in the books. In the books they were actually friends with Farmer Maggot, although Frodo had stolen from him when he was younger, but he invites them to his home before escorting them to the ferry. In the movie, Farmer Maggot chases them out of the field and they fall down a cliff and end up next to some beautiful mushrooms. Frodo gets a bad feeling about staying on the road, so he tells them to get off the road, quick! And they do so just in time, right before the first Black Rider shows up. And after getting chased around by the ring race all day, Merry and Pippin finally ask Frodo what's going on, and he tells them that they have to get to Bree. Alright, so the mission starts from here, and this is much different from the first mission, where you were commanding a whole army, and now you just have the 4 hobbits. And you have to try to evade the Black Riders that are patrolling the woods. Now I'm playing this on medium difficulty, but I was able to clear the first mission in one try without any problems, but this one proved to be a lot more difficult, and I found out very quickly that yes indeed you do need to keep your heroes alive.
I don't think they want us here.
Too long have you lived in shadow.
Yeah, fighting the Nazgul is not a very good idea.
It's not supposed to end this way.
And trying to run away from them doesn't work either.
Quest has fallen to the ruin of all.
So this ended up happening a few times, and turns out there's no autosave, so you have to start all the way back from the beginning and rewatch all the cinematics and stuff.
Where do they come from?
Eventually I figured out that the hobbits have a special ability called Hide, which renders them invisible as long as they remain stationary, and then you could just let the Black Riders pass by. I think Frodo also has another Lure ability which can distract them and lead them away, which I didn't really find out about until later.
Move ahead!
And after a great deal of running around in the woods blindly, the hobbits find themselves in the midst of an elvish host, led by Gildor.
We are hobbits of the Shire. Frodo Baggins is my name, and this is Samwise Gamgee.
You are safe here, my friends. Frodo, I know of your burden. Allow us to do our part in lessening its weight.
In the extended edition of the movies, Frodo and Sam see the elves from afar.
Lord Gildor, the dead are walking.
Gather arms and do not fear this evil.
But yeah, this is content that wasn't in the movie.
We must protect Middle-earth.
I think we beat them.
All of a sudden the elves and the hobbits find themselves assaulted by hosts of undead. According to the game, the skeletons are risen Númenóreans, and then there are spirits from the barrows nearby as well.
Back to your caves, foul creatures. Protect the halflings. I saw this pledge to him last.
We've got a decently sized company of elves here, and of course we've got the healing powers, so we're able to fend off the attack without too much trouble.
Impale them.
But there's one more wave we have to get through. And with some spare power points at the beginning, I was able to purchase an additional power which debuffs all the enemies, reducing their attack and armor for a pretty good duration. The structure on the right is actually a healing fountain, which slowly heals your units when out of combat.
There is yet time for joy.
So we have a new mission objective here to destroy the barrows. There are 3 of them, and they're guarded by more undead as well as Nazgul. Of course, in the book, the 4 hobbits are making their way through the Old Forest, and then they get to Tom Bombadil's house, and they stay there for a little bit before going off again on their own, and then they stumble upon the barrows, where they're attacked and taken captive by the evil spirits there, and they're only able to escape because Tom Bombadil comes back and saves them. Oh, who's that? There he is, old Tom Bombadil. A jolly fellow, singing and dancing as he blasts his way through enemies. He's pretty much indestructible, but he's a little hard to control because he's just like dancing around and sort of does his own thing. They actually included him as like a special power in the original Battle for Middle-earth 2 game. Of course, he never makes an appearance in the movies. He's just a really mysterious and unique character.
They cannot win!
Pretty much all of the heroes in this game have a number of special abilities, and they're different from the ones in the original Battle for Middle-earth, so I didn't really know what they did. Finally realized here that Gildor can actually summon a host of elves, and he also has another ability that can cause terror in the enemy and make them flee. In the heat of battle, it's kind of hard to read through the abilities and all their effects, but if I play through this again, I will better know how to use them. That was Tom Bombadil's Sonic Song, and then he can also summon Old Man Willow here, which instantly puts surrounding enemies to sleep. And apparently they just never wake up, so you can just have an easy time cutting through them.
The Nazgul have fled. Let us destroy the last barrow.
Well, I ended up losing pretty much all the elves except for Gildor himself, so much for leaving these lands alive.
Leave this place, creature!
You will regret coming here.
This is an ancient, evil place.
Alright, so mission accomplished. Barrows are destroyed.
We have sent word to our friendly ears that could be reached. You must travel to Bree. Someone is waiting for you there.
Thank you, my friend.
Farewell, Frodo Baggins.
Protect these lands.
That character Gildor was not in the original game, so I think the modders did some of these voices themselves. And finally we reach Buckleberry Ferry. And here we got another short dialogue from the movie. Brandywine Bridge, 20 miles.
I don't think we should be here.
Neither do I, Pippin. So we finally made it to the outskirts of the village of Bree, and now we have to find the Prancing Pony Inn, where we're supposed to rendezvous with Gandalf.
Hobbits. All hobbits.
It's actually a pretty big town, and the Prancing Pony looks like pretty much any other building, so it takes a little while to find it.
We wish to stay at the inn.
Now who could that be?
Pony is at the top of the town. Now go and wait.
So this is the first dialogue that we have between Strider and the hobbits, and he tells them, well, they should be scared because there's something dangerous chasing them. Unfortunately, we don't actually get to see the inside of the Prancing Pony. Of course, in the movie, the hobbits meet Strider inside of the inn. But this is the Battle for Middle-earth game, so we do have to get to the fighting.
Run for your life!
They're attacking the city!
And so we've got an army of undead invading the village of Bree that we have to deal with, and they are led by the Nazgul, which actually in the books, I think it was a little bit different than what happened in the movies. The Nazgul actually attacked the town, and then the villagers had to chase them off. It wasn't like in the movies where the Nazgul just sneak in and try to assassinate the hobbits. So we've actually got an army of villagers who join Strider and the hobbits in defending the town. And you can use your heroes to capture these inns, which you can use to train additional units to bolster the defenses of the village. You then have to defend the Prancing Pony from assault by the Nazgul. And I found out here that you do have to make sure that the prancing pony stays standing, otherwise you lose. Also, again, if any of your heroes die, then you lose the mission.
Therefore, dwarf yet stands. Our enemy is victorious.
So yeah, that happened about 5 or 6 times, and then I had to restart all the way from the beginning. Fortunately, you can actually save during the game at any point, just like you had to do in the old days of gaming on the PC. So after some trial and error, I finally was able to muster a pretty sizable army of Breelanders and hobbits, and I figured out a few other tricks. I mean, you've got your big abilities that can debuff the enemy and heal your units. Strider also has the Kingsfoil ability, which you can use to heal nearby heroes, and the hobbits are better off throwing rocks from a distance rather than getting into the fray with their swords. It also helps to hotkey the inns so that you can train units without scrolling away from the battle. There's the healing ability, and they just come in waves. And I learned it's good to have some spearmen because they're really good against the mounted Nazgul. In this game, spears are extremely strong against cavalry. They can almost instantly kill them. So finally, after a very long and drawn-out battle, in which is kind of hard to tell what's going on because it's so dark and rainy, we finally managed to successfully defend the prancing pony so that we can continue on our journey. So here, after this big battle against the Nazgul, surrounded by soldiers who are celebrating, Strider finally tells them that it's the Nazgul that are chasing them. And then he takes them into the wild. To Rivendell, Master Gamgee. To the House of Elrond. Alright, so we finally cleared the second mission in the campaign. It took me about an hour, including all the retry attempts. But I am really impressed with the amount of detail and variety in the campaign. I really wasn't expecting to see anything from the books, so that was a nice surprise. Once again, we got the stats from the battle here, you can see. This time we created 164 and killed 412 units. So it's definitely challenging. You can't just breeze through it if you don't know what you're doing. And it takes some trial and error. But I am excited to see what comes next in this story. I heard that there are 10 missions total for the Fellowship of the Ring, and also the 2 towers after that. But it sounds like they're still working on the campaign for the Return of the King. In the next one, we'll be heading to the Fords of Bruinen. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.